Chapter 4 Sublimiter Paycheck. The airskiff lands next to a tower dock near a large clearing in the dry jungle, and the ground crew as well as Arid and Max exit. Oliver says goodbye to the captain and waves as the ship gains altitude again and starts speeding up. The group starts walking through the forest path. Marion comments on how he could have used a bit more sleep, and Max agrees, saying 2 hours was not nearly enough. Soon enough the path opens up to a large concrete airstrip and the group starts walking along its side. Marion mentions how he missed this place a little bit, but Oliver asks him what's wrong with him, asking how he can stand the cramped barracks here. The group walks to the point where the airstrip intersects with another runway, which has several other runways parallel to it. In between the wedge of the intersections lies a concrete field separated from the runway by painted lines. Behind the flattened concrete area, a building with a control tower can be seen. When the group finally gets in front of the building, Oliver tells everyone to arrange themselves in a line. Max asks if somebody of importance is about to arrive, but everybody stays silent as they walk to their spots. Arid shrugs, reaches into his front pocket, realizing he forgot to do something, and is about to take his medicine. Max judges what he's doing, but Arid tells him that he'd rather be safe than sorry before swallowing a pill. Max looks at him with a concerned look and reminds him the medicine doesn't work like that, but Arid says it works well enough. Both of them then line up and stand in line with everyone else as if waiting for somebody. After a little bit of time, a very short, younger, bright-haired guy holding up a simplistic notebook, a tall, skinny man with a beard and a messy jacket, and an even taller lady with a large telescoping binocular in her hand, appear out of the corner, walking towards them from the left where a line of hangars stands. The young man tells the lady how he hasn't heard her call a situation promising in a while, as he writes something in his notebook, and the tall woman confirms that this is the first time in a while she's got something alike to a squadron before her. The tall woman walks before the line formed by the ground crew, introduces herself as Zoe, and introduces the tall man beside her as Tryon. The young notebook guy introduces himself as Meinel. Zoe looks towards Meinel with a blank yet menacing gaze for a few chilling seconds without saying anything, before turning back to everyone and saying that this is Meinel. Zoe then walks in front of Marion and stands there very quietly, to the point where the other members slightly turn their heads to see what the hell is happening at the start of the line. Marion thinks he's supposed to do something and introduces himself and happily shakes Zoe's hand, telling her he hasn't been to the airfield while she was around. He does back away with a visible discomfort as Zoe hands over a monocular she had hid behind her back a second ago. Marion tries to ask why she gave him the monocular, but she stops him and just leaves him to hold on to it. Zoe takes a step to the side, now standing in front of Arid and Max. The two introduce themselves, no handshake at first, but Zoe's hollow yet threatening look coaxes them to do so. After shaking hands and a moment of silence, everyone besides Octave, Flank, Marion, Max and Arid starts laughing like crazy. Zoe's facial expression changes only a little, but it does show something akin to a smile now. The man in the jacket, Tryon, who had not spoken till now, finally stops laughing and says that after the new ones learn to act that professional, they will look like a high-end contracting squad. Oliver laughs, though in a slightly more embarrassed manner, and says that he hopes so too, still referring to Tryon as Sir, instead of by name. Zoe turns to the group again and calls out Marion, Arid and Max to ask them what reason they have for joining the squadron. Marion notes how he wanted to stay with his friends in the ground crew, to which the rest of the ground crew chuckles. Then he continues by explaining how he would change squadrons with them even though he personally was given an opportunity to stay in a better squad. This time Tryon chuckles as everybody else freezes in fear. He proudly pauses before hastily saying that Marion must have meant smaller squadrons. Zoe tells him that it's fine by her and waits for the other two to answer. Max mentions that he plans to stay a part of the squadron as he knows a bit about combat flying and won't waste the job opportunity. Zoe approves, especially after she notices he and Arid are both surface pilots, so she waits for Arid to answer. Though caught a bit off guard, Arid quickly manages to answer. He says that he wants to be a part of the squadron since this is the only job that he can do that should pay well and give him a chance of getting out of the downfall. Tryon turns serious again, and Arid realizes how he sounded like he planned to run away from the squadron when the chance was right, so he quickly tries to correct himself, claiming he's no deserter. Tryon says he will talk to Arid afterwards, but that his answer will suffice for now. Tryon then turns back towards the group and says that they will all be run through a few days of various training and practice before doing proper squadron things to make sure that they don't all drop like flies in the first bit of combat. Post-chapter. Tryon looks out of a window in the control tower before turning around towards Arid, who is standing patiently behind him. He doesn't wait and just asks Arid if he plans to escape the downfall. Arid says that he knows that it is difficult not to get shot down. Tryon thinks of what to say, but Arid continues, saying that he may not show it but that he is terrified of staying in the downfall. It is not the rumors of cannibalism or the thousands of dangerous animals they spoke about up above. It is something that just cannot be described as easily, as if his stay made him feel like he was buried alive in fresh soil. Tran dismisses his answer just by saying the air is heavier 6 clicks under. Tran asks Aerith if he has any folks waiting for him up above the cloud barrier. Aerith says he has a few roommates that he does not wish to meet anytime soon. He pauses for a second, looking away, and says that he really misses his parents and his grandpa. Tran tells him bluntly to give up the idea of trying to escape since all it does is kill people. He tries to recall and tell Aerith a cautionary tale about an air marine that had been sunken just 2 days ago, somewhat close to the center of the downfall, that had been spotted by a surface fighter the moment it passed the limiter. Tran tells him he should have seen the sky that night, but that it's a bad example for the point he's trying to make since the exact fighter plane got caught in the collateral damage it caused. Aerith says he gets what he's trying to tell him, but he can't help himself from respectfully telling Tran it wasn't collateral, but likely a con arm like a railgun. Tran tells him it likely wasn't, but Aerith looks him straight in the eye and tells him he knows it was. Tran is surprised and pauses, but in the end just nods as he realizes Aerith along with Max was likely responsible for that event. He tells him he's gonna get used to the downfall and he just needs to not do anything stupid until then. Tran tells him that speaking of doing stupid things, he heard from Oliver about the whole rescue attempt. Aerith asks what's wrong with that, and Tran tells him that was a huge effort for some random person who likely works for the Carton Company or High G's. Aerith asks what these are, but he sarcastically tells him to just go socialize in the barracks instead of asking second in command for everything. Chapter ends with Aerith wishing farewell to Tran after being dismissed and leaving from the tower. Before he leaves though, Tran tells him to not forget to assemble in the cafeteria since Zoe needs to brief everyone.